Am I supposed to introduce everybody every single episode? It just seems so silly. But I do remember having to teach a lot of my my fellow goofballs that it's a common complaint. You know, you're at a workplace and people babble. They seem to want me to greet them every single time that we cross paths in the day, even if we cross paths 20 times. And I have to assure them and say, yes, this is their way. And they're like, no. I've studied the humans a long time. It's just their way. Understand that when they greet them back, and try not to do it. Try not to be too goofy about it. I've screwed that up too. Anyway, I am the living God, Amon-Ra. Don't let it throw you. It's mostly a title. My name is Jack. This is Professor West. She's currently working on her saddle still. I got got the leather covered on it, coming along quite nicely. Chonkers, of course. Hi, Chonkers. Yeah. No, I know. Chonkers is always a little bit busy. Talking about Dogmen. That's not werewolves. It's different. Oh man, I've been fascinated by Dogmen. I bumped into this channel, Dogman Encounters. It's narrated by a guy, Vic Cundiff. And it fascinated me about when I was making tiny books for a living. I would just have it playing hours and hours and hours. And the thing is, there's a lot of material in Dogman Encounters. At the time, I remember, I don't remember how many episodes there were when I was watching it, but I was always fascinated. The episodes are like 45 minutes, 50 minutes, hour and a half, sometimes 3 hours long. And they are, well, here, as the channel says, what you're about to hear is not fiction! Exclamation point. These are real eyewitnesses sharing their real life Dogman Encounters. Everyone has heard of Sasquatch, but did you know there's a much more terrifying cryptid stalking the forests of the world? You mean like the thylacine? You know, the thylacine. Tasmanian wolf. Of course, I'm talking about Dogmen. Yeah, I guess I'd be surprised if you were suddenly talking about chupacabras, Vic. To be clear, up front, I'm jealous. At this recording, he has 488 videos. His channel is 8 years old. Now you're probably thinking, he's got other videos plays, Dogman Encounters, right? Yeah. No, there's there's only 480 episodes of Dogman Encounters. He's got 8 other videos besides Dogman Encounters. I wanted to refamiliarize myself with Dogman Encounters because it's been a while. And the thing is, it started to get to me because initially it starts building started building in my brain because the stories are so long. I don't know, and that's my main bit about this whole channel, is that the stories are complicated. They're long-winded. Each episode has several stories. And he gets people to. I kept thinking to myself, they have to be voice actors. They have to be voice actors because they're all well spoken. Their diction is great. They come from all regions, all walks of life, all ages. So, if you ever listen to like the No Sleep podcast, right? You start to pretty quickly you start hearing voices that you recognize, because it's like they only have a handful of voice actors that they can call upon. But Vic has not this problem. I don't think I've ever heard the same voice twice, which would so it starts breaking my head a little bit, because the stories are they're fascinating. The people telling them, like I say, they're long-winded stories. The reason I'm jealous about this is because I drove a cab for 3 years, night shift. I wanted the night shift. I wanted to talk to weirdos in Portland, Oregon. And in 3 fucking years, I got 3 stories. I got 3 X-Files worthy stories. One of them is from one of my friends. How does Vic do it? Just by putting the call out. I like to think that I put the call out. It's not like I'm coy about wanting to hear your weirdo fucking stories. I'm up for it, man. There have to be more than 1,000 stories on Vic's channel. It's amazing. Before we go on, I'll tell you those stories after we get done talking about Vic's channel. And by the way, Vic himself, this like silky smooth resonant voice, it's beautiful, and he sounds like some beautifully crafted AI like synth voice of just beautifully smooth radio voice, smooth, calm.
Well, as you know, dogmen are seen all over, period. Yeah, they literally are all over the place, unfortunately.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And the people telling their stories, they get, and like I said, they're well versed. The stories are well edited as well. They go on and on. And the stories, by the way, the 3 stories I'm telling you that I managed to collect in 3 years of skimming the nights in Portland, Oregon. Those stories are told in a couple minutes. Why not? These Dogman stories, they go on, and they don't have to be prompted. There's not a lot of ums and ahs. They're all well composed. So who are these people? What am I missing? What am I missing, right? Listen, I understand I have a problem, distinguishing the difference between fantasy and reality. It's a pretty fuzzy little area for me. So if is he paying people to pretend like they're calling in? He's swearing up and down these are real stories. Every person giving their story swears up and down, but because they're talking about dogmen, right? They're talking about these, and when they talk about them, they'll in the middle of the story, sometimes they'll tear up, sometimes they'll have to compose themselves, and they'll have to get a hold of their emotions, because even if they're talking about it from 10 years later, from 20 years later, they're horrified. The Dogman encounter weighs heavily on their mind and soul. Every one of these people, there's elements of the Dogman stories. People are always like, oh my god, I mean, it looked exactly like a werewolf, exactly like a werewolf from the Howling, and they'll mention movies, Van Helsing, the Howling. They'll mention the most ridiculous werewolves, right? The modern werewolf, and always they got the backwards bending feet. They got the digitigrade hind limbs of the bipedal midform werewolf of the modern era, right? That's not a thing that was going on. I know, I've looked into it, man, because I think those moments, and it's just a couple of seconds in the movie The Howling at the end, where suddenly the werewolves are in stop motion, and the car is racing away, and it's just fading out. And I remember, God, I must have been like 12 or something, and it's like, what? They're standing up there, God, it seared itself into my fucking brain, and I think it seared itself into everyone else's fucking brain. Because they always talk about The elements that are in Howling, big pointy ears. These dogmen always have big, giant, pointy ears, and always, this refrain in so many stories. It just had too many teeth. I kept thinking to myself, that is too many teeth. And so I kept thinking, okay, so is it a rash of people running around with Halloween store like gaudy werewolf masks? Because big pointy ears and too many teeth. Yeah, that would make sense. What am I missing? Is it a creative writing exercise that Vic is hosting? Like a sort of a community theater tryout? Give us your best performance? Or is it like some sort of cryptozoological Toastmasters, right? It's really, get over speaking in public or some, because the alternative is that it's fucking real, that they're talking about something real, and they're all over. These accounts come from the deserts, they come from the swamps, they come from Oklahoma, they come from all over.
Well, as you know, dogmen are seen all over, period. Yeah, they literally are all over the place, unfortunately.
So, there's so many goddamn Dogman stories here that you should have to be putting sriracha on your garbage can to keep the fucking things out of the trash, man. You should have to. There should be dogmen available at the Humane Society to adopt. There should be off-leash dogman parks, for God's sakes. And where the hell are the dog ladies? Where are my dog ladies at? I don't get. I wander around at night. Wait, how can there be so many people bumping into this apex predator bipedal cryptid? And they always, and these people, their stories. These people have this laser-like, microscopic, attenuated observation skills. They all have minute details remembered years and years later. And they all remember, like when the dogmen, dogmen love to go from 4 feet up to 2 feet, and it is always accompanied by this extra loud knuckle-popping sound. And they all remember it. They'll remember fine details about their musculature, and the dogmen are always crazy fast too. They're always this ridiculous element, and I don't know where this trope comes from, but I see it in a lot of things where again this monstrous, like horror movie trope-esque beast is running on 2 legs. By the way, on 2 legs, because everyone knows how fast the 2-legged things can run in the world, right? And they're always chasing people in their cars and trucks, and they're coming up next to them as they're going 50 miles and more over, and they're facing them right outside the window to look into the window and be creepy as shit. Never is a dogman shot and captured. Never is a person wounded to the point where they have to go to the hospital and kind of explain why they've got, giant too many teeth gnash marks. There's stories about packs of these things outside of farms. And by the way, never a picture. I don't. I just want to know what's going on. Well, yeah, no, I'm asking. Their descriptions as well. They are consistent. They're consistent in a way that, again, you would start to think they're talking about something real. How come nobody gets eaten? How come nobody gets eaten by dogmen, right? And they'll talk about, like, if it's farms and stuff. I don't know. I haven't listened to it enough. Maybe there are cattle getting eaten, or people's dogs getting killed off by dogmen or something. And again, I don't want to sound like an empiricist. Shouldn't there be some evidence? Where the fuck are the dogman skeletons? Anyway, I highly recommend Vic's channel, Dogman Encounters. Apparently the Sasquatch stuff too. I haven't heard any of the Sasquatch stuff. So beware. It is currently a a waxing gibbous moon. So keep an eye out for Dogmen, and man, if you got a Dogman story, I was gonna say if you got a Dogman story to tell, but honestly, send it to Vic. Talk to Vic about it, because I mean that's the guy to go to. I think the guy he should have like a North American field guide to the Dogmen book. Now for the reality impaired among us. So it's a lifelong problem. It's a blessing and a curse. So dogmen aren't supposed to be werewolves, by the way. They're apparently different. This is a completely different kind of beastie. But I guess I should note that there's a reason that werewolves are ridiculous. Besides, I don't need you to tell me. I know it's ridiculous. But I think my dad was possibly concerned at some point when I was a kid. He pointed out, it's like, well, a werewolf doesn't sound like such a strange idea, except there's nothing else in nature that does this. The closest thing you're going to get is something like, a butterfly. And even when you go from caterpillar to butterfly, well, number one, keep in mind that change takes a long time. It takes a great deal of time. And genetically speaking, it's the same creature. It has not changed into another species. Good point. Good point. That does make a lot of sense. So, are the Dogmen supposed to be like a research escapee, kind of be like something made in a lab that got away? But again, if it did, it just seems like you call up the local municipality. It's like, animal control. There's a large bipedal humanoid wolf digging through my trash right now, and I just wonder if you could come out and do something about that. Hey, Dogman, God, I was getting haunted by the Dogman thing, listening to episode after episode. It's great stuff. Thank you, Vic. Everybody, you should check out Dogman Encounters. Vic Cundiff. I think Vic is a national treasure.